Begin the current and final daf in Mesechta Nedarim Daf Tzadi Aleph. Begin on the bottom of Tzadi and Beis, 5 lines up at the bottom of the Yomid, where the Gemara introduces a teaching that relates directly back to the halacha of our Mishnah, which we had mentioned the 3 types of women that originally they said that okay, they could leave the marriage and they take the ksuba because there's no fault of their own, and then ultimately they said no, that we're concerned that maybe she's looking at some other man, and therefore she's going to be mekalkelas al bala, and therefore we don't let her just leave and get a ksuba. Regarding one of the cases, the Mishnah, which was regarding the wife of a kohen that was nensa, which she says t'me'ah nelach, regarding that case, the Gemara has a question what her halachic status is regarding her ksuba, and the Gemara is going to answer directly from the halach of our Mishnah. Shis kospas v'kazach and necheskel to enter daf achaim. Bishop joining today's daf. Something discussed in today's daf, like I mentioned, is Eishes Kohen Shenensa, the wife of a kohen that gets violated. Although generally, when the woman is violated, she's permitted to her husband because it was a oinus, but there's a unique halacha by the wife of a kohen that she's forbidden to her husband. The Gemara is going to ask regarding if she gets her ksuba. We had discussed regarding if she could eat truma. Amar labala gerashtani. What's the halacha if a woman tells her husband, "You divorced me"? Would we believe her over there, or would we not? And now, the Gemara ends off with many different stories that permit the woman to her husband because of a neho nasna ba'acha that were similar to that theme, that we're not chayshid that necessarily that this is true that she was defiled. So begin the current daf Tzadim and Beis, 5 lines up at the bottom of the Yomid. As we mentioned, the Mishnah had said that in the beginning 3 women would leave and take the ksuba, and the first case was a meres t'me'ah nelach, that she says she's been defiled and therefore she's forbidden to her husband, but then we said ultimately, maybe she's not believed because maybe she's just trying to get out of the marriage. Now, the Gemara had first asked regarding truma, and regarding do we say that could she eat truma or not? Then we had a machlekes, and now the Gemara says Amar Papa. It says Badiklon Rava. Rava had checked this out regarding the following question. It says Eishes Kohen Shenensa, if you have the wife of a kohen that was violated, Yesh la ksuba or ein la ksuba? Did she get a ksuba or not? What's the question? So the Gemara explains. Kiven the oinis legabi kohen. Since the halacha of a woman who's violated regarding when she's married to a kohen is karatzin legabi Yisrael dami, it has the halachic equivalency that when you do it consensually, when you're married to a non-kohen, the halacha is only then that you married. So halachically, when the woman who's married to a kohen gets violated, she's also forbidden to her husband. So you would say, ein la ksuba. Just like a woman does it consensually when she's married to Yisrael, doesn't get a ksuba. So even though here she was violated, but you see halacha compares the two of them, and therefore she wouldn't get a ksuba. She could tell to her husband, look, ana hochazina, I am fit. I am here. I'm just like I always was. But it's getinta b'tzadi aleph and aleph. The man, meaning you, my husband, it's your field that got ruined. Like the Ran explains, has already said this in the Mishnah, that the woman on her own role, being married to a Jewish husband, would not be forbidden. And hence, she would be allowed to get her ksuba. It's only the sanctity of the kahuna of the husband that caused him a problem. That's something that's coming from his role, not from her role. And therefore, she would get her ksuba. That was the question that Rava had asked them. But really, we told them, "Vas heis masninhi," as halacha of our Mishnah. Mishnah opened up that said, in the beginning, when we believed him at least, if the woman said, if she said that I am tamei to you, yesh la ksuba, she gets a ksuba. Now, as the Gemara explains, what is the case of Mishnah talking about? If it's talking about a woman married to a non-kohen, so I don't understand the case. And if she did it consensually, willingly, klum yesh la ksuba, you think she gets a ksuba for being mezana? Of course not. She's forbidden to her husband because she was an Aisha sister, was mezana, but she doesn't get a ksuba. And if she was violated, someone forced it, miko mitzra al gaver, would she be forbidden to the husband? That we're saying, oh, okay, so she has to leave the marriage, but she gets the ksuba because it was ba'inus, but she wouldn't have to leave because she's not forbidden to her husband. The Ella, rather obviously, be'eshes kohen. We're talking about when she's married to a kohen. Now, wait a second. And if she did it willingly, klum yesh ksuba. What do you think she's going to get a ksuba? Mi gara me'eshes yisrael baratzin. You think a woman married to a kohen who did it consensually is any less than a woman married to a non-kohen who did it consensually? No, obviously she wouldn't get a ksuba. Rather, obviously, is when she was violated. And we're learning yeshla kesuba, that she gets our kesuba. That's what the Mishnah Rishon was saying. Mishnah Choin agrees to it. It's just was saying we don't believe her. But you see that we'll say the concept of nistachva sadehu. We're going to say that his field got ruined, and therefore that was the answer to Rabbi's question. Now, relating back another question to the halacha of the Mishnah, Ibailu. Amr labala, let's say a woman says to her husband, Gerashtani, you divorced me, just that the get you gave me either got shredded or got lost. What's the halacha to believe her and to permit her to get married to someone else? So Amr Rabbi says, Tashma, we can bring a right from the halacha of our Mishnah. Where do we see this in our Mishnah? Because the Mishnah said in the case we just described, if a woman says that I was tamei to you, meaning because I was defiled, yeah, so dafil Mishnah achrena. Even according to the later version of the Mishnah, the Gitani Lemeham, which says that the woman is not believed to say that she was defiled to make herself forbidden to her husband to have to leave the marriage. Yeah, hasam hud de meshakra. And there it's because we would say the woman would lie. How would she lie? Why would she lie that she was violated, that someone raped her when she was somewhere on vacation and I'm sorry, husband, I'm forbidden to you, you have to divorce me? Because the Bal Yadaba, she knows that the husband has no clue if she had some other relations or not, and therefore she would lie, and she's not afraid. And therefore, since she's not afraid to lie because you can't catch me on it, so therefore, we don't believe her. That's even according to the Mishnah Achrayna that we don't believe her. But regarding to say to a husband, you divorced me, the Yadaba, he knows if he divorced her or not, he's not insane. So then we will believe her. Why? Because based on the following principle, the chazaka, there's a presumption, a woman would not have the audacity to be so brazen in front of her husband, straight to his face and lie to him. So when it's something that is not brazen because he has no clue what happened when she was away for those few weeks, so could be it happened, so maybe she'll lie. So therefore that's why the Mishnah says they're not going to believe her. But straight to his face, no woman's going to lie like that. And therefore, if she does tell him that, if we do believe her, and therefore, says Rav Amnuna, you could prove from the halacha of our Mishnah that we're only concerned for lying when there would be something that wouldn't be brazen. But if it would be brazen, she would be believed. To which Amalei Rava interestingly takes the opposite approach. He says, Adrabah, to the contrary. We had in our Mishnah two different versions of her first version and the second version. If we believe this woman when she says, meaning to say I'm forbidden to you or not, meaning that I have to go ahead and marry someone else. First Mishnah said we do, and because we're concerned that maybe it's true and she's forbidden to him. And the second version says no, because Shem and Esle na ba'achar. So Rav Nuna was proving from even the second version, when do we not believe? It's only because Dilma Meshakra, because he doesn't know. But if he would know, no, we would not be chayshid and she would be believed. Rav is saying the opposite. Even according to the verse version of the Ketanim that says that we do believe her. Yeah, hasam mishum de le'avida levzuya nafsha. That's because it's not common for a woman to disgrace herself, which is, it's very embarrassing and disgraceful for a woman to say that she was raped. And therefore, if not for the fact that it's true, she wouldn't say such a thing. She wouldn't say that this happened to me. And therefore, that's why we believe her in the Mishnah Rishayna. Avloch over here, the zimnin, the talkiv lo min gavra, you could have a woman that'll get strong from her husband, meaning from her anger, she's going to put up a front, and she's going to have the audacity. And she's going to say, yeah, you divorced me. Me'iza. She would have the brazenness, and therefore, no, she wouldn't be believed because nothing embarrassing about her to say such a thing. So that's not a reason for us to believe her. To the contrary, Mishnah Rishayna, yeah, there you're going to believe her because who's going to say such a thing happened to her? It's defiling. And therefore, a woman wouldn't want to have disgrace. But over here, it's not disgraceful, and she's like, yeah, you divorced me, and she gets angry, and she's trying to be very convincing. So therefore, Rava says, no, we would not believe her. So we have a machlokes amiram, if the woman's believed from gerashtani or not, and they bring opposite proofs from our Mishnah. Now, must have Rav Mesharsha. Mesharsha asks on Rava, who we just quoted his opinion that says that we don't believe her, from the other case of the Mishnah. The other case of the Mishnah says, Hashemayim beini lebeincha. Heaven is between me and you. Okay. Now, and actually, this is where the Ran's going to bring a raya from, that he explained the Mishnah that the case of Hashemayim Beini Lebeitcha is a machlokes Rishonim. Exactly what does it mean? The Ran that explained, it means to say that she's saying he's not Yere Kechetz. Only heaven, only Hashem knows that your seed does not shoot forth like an arrow, and therefore we're not going to ever have kids. And I need kids. I need to have a family. So therefore, go ahead and divorce me. Give me my ksub. It's not my own fault. Now, but the thing is that we had here also a Mishnah Rishon and Mishnah Achrayna. So on that asked Rabbi Masharsha, this halacha, the Mishnah Rishona, in the first version, which they said that she is believed, is to Yufta de Rava, is a refutation of Rava. Why? Because Rava said that even according to the Mishnah Rishona, when she would say Girashtani, that I was divorced, we wouldn't believe her. We said that, okay, we said that when she says Timen Elacha, we would believe her because it's embarrassing, it's disgraceful, it's bizayin for her. But when it's not embarrassing, like you divorced me, then, said Rava, even the Mishnah Rishon would hold that we don't believe her. What do you mean? So Hacha de Leslie Kisufa, here, there's no embarrassment for her when she says that it's his problem. He's got some type of dysfunction in his male organ. And yet, yet we say that she's believed in Mishnah Rishona. Rabbi was saying, even the Mishnah Rishona that says we believe her is only in the cases where it's not bizayin for her. But he said no, meaning meaning because it's embarrassing for her, therefore we believe her. But when it's not embarrassing, like Gerashtani, we don't believe her. But here this is not embarrassing, the second case, and yet we do believe her. Says Gemara, Ksav Rabbi held, no. Hasam over there, in this second case of Hashemayim Beini Beincha, even Dulei Sagila, Dulei Amra, Ein Yore Kechetz, since it's not possible for her to file this claim, to petition the courts, to have to let him, to have him divorce her and get her ksuba, she has to say, Rabbi said, this is he doesn't shoot forth his seed like an arrow. If it wouldn't be true like how she's saying, she wouldn't say such a thing. Meaning, as the Ran explains, she's got to get really, really medical and specific over here. When she says Hashemayim Beini Lebeitcha, she's got to be explicit. It's like explicit content, what she's saying, which he doesn't shoot forth like an arrow. So the Ran says that is ksifah lamilsa. It is embarrassing. And if it wouldn't be true, she wouldn't say such a thing. He's got to get graphic about something that's usually very intimate and very private, and it's also included in the levazuye nafsha. It's similar to the case of when she was raped. These are similar types of things that are embarrassing, and a person wouldn't want to talk about those things. So it does have that same character, that same quality, in contrast to Gerashtani, which has no embarrassment at all. Now, however, then the Gemara says, now I could ask the other way on the other mandama. Hashemayim Beini Lebeitcha, the Mishnah Achrayna, this same halacha that said that he's not shooting forth the seed like an arrow, of the Mishnah Achrayna, which we say that we don't believe her, that should refute the first mandama, that of Rav Nuna. Why? Because v'hach over here, the yadahi, and the girsa of the bach is the bala yadaba. She knows that the husband knows, because like the Ran says, the Gemara assumes in the Havamina that he also knows that he's not shooting forth like an arrow. You would think that the husband would know also. It's actually what he's doing. It's his doing, and therefore, it should be a chazaka that she wouldn't have the audacity. Because if you recall, Rav Amnuna had said that he proved that even according to Mishnah Achrayna that says we don't believe is because she would lie, because she knows the husband doesn't know. But things that he does know, like Gerashtani, he said, then we are going to believe she wouldn't have the audacity. But wait a second, this case of a Shemayim Beini Lebeitcha, he knows, and she's making a claim that he's not. He's like, I'm very virile, I have chab kaiches, I do what I need to do. And we're Gutani D'Loi Mehemna. And we said, we don't believe it. I thought you said when he knows and you're saying it, we must believe you because you wouldn't have the audacity to say something that he knows. So that's your refute of Rav Nuna. Says the Gemara, no, Ksav Rav Nuna held, no hachanam here also. He gufa amra, she herself says, Nehid bebiya yada, although he knows obviously if he's having relations, but b'yere kechetz mi yada, do you think he really knows if he's shooting forth like an arrow? He doesn't. necessarily know. And she just knows because of what her experience is. And therefore, she would lie because she thinks he doesn't know. And if he doesn't know, that's the same thing like we said, that she was nenas when she was away for a week in Minnesota, whatever, and therefore, since he doesn't know, so therefore that wouldn't be a raya, wouldn't be a refutation of Rav Nuna. Now, the Ran just points out from here, you learn that the case of Shemayim ben Nila ben Chada we learn in the Mishnah is the halacha of Yer Kechetz, because that's what you see from the Gemara's answer, that it's saying, how could he know? Well, if it was like the Ran that said that it sounded like from Sarah, Meinu, and Avram Avinu, that means we're not being together, so then obviously he would know. So what does it mean the woman would think that he doesn't know? That's how he proves his interpretation. Now regarding the halacha, says the Ran, we rule like Rav Nuna, that if a woman says to her husband, you divorce me, she's believed. Why? Because the sugya throughout Shas seems to assume like him. And also, in our Gemara, we're comparing it to our Mishnah, that not only do we believe her to let her get remarried, but even to take her ksuba, which is similar to halacha of the Mishnah, which we said that yotzes benitl is ksuba. Moreover, he says, from the sefer of the ksuba itself, you learn out, what does the husband write in the ksuba? He writes, when you're going to get married to someone else, titli masha kasam lecha, you should take what was written to you, as learned elsewhere in Yevamos Daf Kof Zayin and Aleph, that you learn out from the ksuba, and therefore the Ramban says that the halacha is like Rav Nuna. Now, however, the Ran says what you could say is that we shouldn't darshan the ksuba only regarding the ikr ksuba, meaning when we say you're going to get the ksuba. So, however, that would only be the primary ksuba, the 100, 200, but the Tosefes, the addition, no. And since that's the case, that she's believed more when she says Gerashtani, when she says you divorced me, than when she says Hashemayim beini lementcha. Why? Because Gerashtani, her husband knows, obviously, if he divorced her or not, and she wouldn't have the audacity. Hashemayim beini lementcha, where he doesn't necessarily know, she would have the audacity. So, you see that the case of Gerashtani is stronger. So we learn from that when she says that he's not having relations with me at all, since the husband knows, even according to Mishnah Achreina, so she would be believed, because again, who would have the audacity to say such a thing if it wasn't true, like you see from Gerashtani? And then he has to go out and give her a ksuba, even if she does not come with a claim of, I need children to help me out when I'm old and to bury me, because even greater than this, if let's say she says that he wants to have intimacy only with garments, which is prohibited for intimacy. So here also, with such a claim of that he's not being intimate, for sure, alachas kama v'kama, that she's yotzi, he has to divorce her and give her the ksuba. But the Ri writes that it's specifically when she's claiming to get divorced, that's when we say yotzi b'yitn ksuba. But if she's claiming her ksuba, it depends on what she's using as her claim. If she's claiming the ksuba, actually we don't believe her. And the proof he brings is from Perek Isha Rabbah, or Hisha Shalom, Daf Kof Zayin, that a woman that says, my husband died, she's believed. If she says, my husband died, give me my ksuba, she's not believed. So it depends on her wording, what she's coming to say, if she's believed and she gets the ksuba or not. We trust her regarding the husband, we don't necessarily trust her regarding the monetary purposes. Now, the Ran says what you could shtel on in our sugya, it sounds like that something that the husband knows, she's believed. Why? Because she would not be such a mechutzefes. Like we said, the audacity to have, if he doesn't know, I'll make such a claim. Would I go ahead and be me'iza and say this if I thought not? So therefore, it sounds like from our sugya that we more believe her when he knows than when she doesn't know. And therefore, when he doesn't know, we don't believe her. Problem is, the Gemara in Yevamos, regarding the Mishnah, it says, if a man was married to a woman for 10 years and they didn't have children, so in lebatal. So he's not allowed to be without children. From that sugya, it sounds like opposite. Why? Because the Gemara tells us over there, and that's Yevamos Daf Samachem at Aleph, that let's say he says it's from her and she says it's from him. So Rabbi said, regarding intimacy, she's believed. What's the reason? Because she knows when it shoots forth like an arrow, and he doesn't know if it shoots forth like an arrow. So it sounds like that because he doesn't know, therefore we believe her. But if he did know, we wouldn't believe her. And here we say the opposite. Here we say that when he does know, no, we believe her because she wouldn't have the audacity. So the Ramban answers that you can't compare those two different sugyas. Over there, he's divorcing her, and he's causing a loss to her ksuba. So therefore, if both of them claim to know, we can't say that she's believed because of chazaka because when do we say that? That's where she wants to leave, where then it's a great audacity. She wants to leave, so therefore, if she wasn't saying truth, she wouldn't have the audacity. But over there, where he wants to divorce her, then she would have the audacity because he's trying to get rid of me. I'm going to do whatever it takes to survive. But since she knows and he doesn't know, then it's not appropriate to divorce her and make her laws of ksuba tiny shema. But if he claims to know, then we will believe her. So the Ram is saying it's different fundamentally who's trying to leave. If she's trying to leave or he's trying to kick her out, if she's trying to leave, then she wouldn't have the audacity, and therefore we believe her when he claims to know. And when he's divorcing her, then she would have the audacity, and therefore actually we believe him, and then we don't believe her. Now, the Gemara concludes with different stories that relate to the halacha of the Mishnah, that to say that even though there are concerning situations that would have us believe that maybe she was mazana, but we don't necessarily believe the situation or the woman, like we said in the Mishnah, and she's just making up stories because she wants to get out of the marriage. And that's the woman's passive, aggressive role of getting out because she can't give the get. But she really wants to get out of the marriage. As the Gemara brings, Hahi Itza. There was a certain woman, which the Ram points out, obviously she was married to a Kohen because she was married to Yisrael, even according to her words that she claims that she was intimate with a man and she thought it was her husband. And was like, oh, I guess I'm usher because I guess it must have been the worker that came by that day. But there's no greater oinus than that she thought it was the husband. And the oinus is permitted by Yisrael. So why would Reb Nachman have to say, as we're going to say in a moment, that, she was looking and she wants to get married to someone else, to permit her, and therefore she's going to stay in the marriage, just say because it was an oinus. Right? Obviously, we're talking about that this woman was married to a kohen. Okay. But what happened is interesting. The chol yomei de tashmish, every day they had intimacy. Mikadma mashyad yodeh legavra. After intimacy, she would come and bring a bowl of netilas yadayim, of water, to purify his hands after tashmish, which that is the halacha, to wash one's hands after intimacy. She would come with the bowl to her husband. Now yom echad asile ma'il mimsha. One day she comes with the water to her husband to wash his hands. Amallah, he says to her, "Vas haste." Hadam Milsa, this thing about tashmish. No, we didn't just have this. This we didn't have this. So Amalek, she said to him, Oive, if that's the case, then Chad Menachrim, as a continuum in Beis, Ahaluye, must be one of the non-Jews that we have selling this perfume. The Hava Hachidna that was here, if it wasn't you, maybe it's one of them. Because they just had intimacy with someone. If it wasn't you, then, I don't know. Maybe it was one of the goyim, or one of the this other people. Amar Rav Nachman said, no, we're not concerned for this, even though Eishes Kohen Shenensa is going to be aser, and it's a oinus, but now nasna ba'achar. It's not true. Her eyes are placed somewhere else, and she really wants to get out of the marriage. She wants that the guy from down the block who she got in conversation in the bakery, and she wants to marry him. So she's making up this story, coming with the bucket of water, saying, oh, I don't know, this is what, it must have been someone else. I guess it must have to you. No, but let's be Mashash B'Mila. There's no substance in her words. Again, like we said in the Halakha of the Mishnah, we don't trust her in the story that she's narrating. Right, so maybe, again, it could have been, we don't believe her at all.
I'm saying the Ram said before it has to be Aisha's Kohen.
Yeah.
If it's a Muslim in the Mamza, even Aisha's is also
No, she wouldn't be forbidden to, if she was violated, no, she wouldn't be. It's a kohen, a besula, that's with a nasna mamzer, would be forbidden to a kohen, not only a married woman. But a Eishes Yisrael wouldn't be aser if she was violated. It's only by kahuna. So that's one story. Gemara brings another story. It's another woman. There was that woman, the loy have a bedicha daita b'hadigaber. She wasn't in a good mood with her husband. She was very upset. Amalah, so the husband said to her, this time, what's different? Meaning, why are you in a bad mood? I mean, the Gemara is hinting to us when you see your wife in a bad mood, you go over and you say, what's going on? So Amalai, she said to him, it never pained me so much, the intimate relationship, as it was this time. This was very painful, and therefore she's very upset. Amalai said to her, I don't know what you're talking about. We didn't have this now. We didn't have this intimacy. Amalai, she said, what are you talking about? Just a few hours ago, we were together. If that's the case, also, neft is also one of these types of substances that are used like a type of an aroma. It's a type of element. So it must have been these goyim that sold the neft that was here. If it wasn't you, like you're saying, we weren't intimate a few hours ago. Maybe it's one of them. And again, obviously it's Esher Konshin that says it's Labala. I guess Nabuch, what can I do? We're forbidden. Rav Nachman said to them, but don't pay attention to her. This woman is just looking at someone else. She wants to get out, so she's making up this story. We don't believe her. A related story, the Gemara brings a Hugava. There was a certain person, he was hiding in the house. Hu ve'intasa. Him and the woman, meaning an unrelated man, was with this married woman hiding out in the house. Now, in comes in the master of the house, the husband comes in. Now, so this adulterer, he breaks through a barrier of trees, of branches, and he runs through the boundary of the bushes, and he runs out. And this husband sees this man running out, but his gachka is running out of the house as he comes in. Rama Rabbi says, "It's a sharia. The woman is permitted." Why? Why do you know the woman's permitted? If it was true that they had done something forbidden, he would have hidden himself that the husband shouldn't see his disgrace. The fact that he's running out is obviously because he didn't do anything. If he had done, he would never have ran out. He would have hidden. So the Gemara obviously understands the psychology of someone who had committed such an offense. He wouldn't run out. He would be so embarrassed. He would be hiding instead of running out to get out. So therefore, the wife is permitted. Another story the Gemara brings, Hahu Noyef, that adulterer, the Olagabe Dahi Intisa, that he went up to a certain woman, and he was with her in the house, and also Gavra. Then the husband came. Salik Noyef, so the adulterer went up, and Esev Bikili Bava. He went and he hid behind a curtain that was in front of the door, and he's hiding over there as the husband's in the house. Now, Havamachtan Tachle Taman, there was this cress, which is a type of food that was laying over there. Now, a snake had tasted from that cress. Now, a lot of the things we have, that you're not supposed to leave wine uncovered, all these different things, because in Talmudic times, there was a concern that a snake would drink from it, and it's danger because we know that there's venom in the snake. So a snake had eaten from this thing. Now, the master of the house, this husband, wanted to he was reaching out to eat from this cress. Without his wife's awareness, meaning the wife might have stopped him, but the wife wasn't because she didn't see that he's reaching out for this food. So this adulterer who's hiding behind the curtain, he tells the husband, don't eat from this cress, because the snake had eaten from this. Says the wife is permitted to the husband. Why? If it was true that these people had committed this prohibition, he would have wanted the husband should eat and to die. The Chsilik says it says kineyefu, because they commit adultery, v'dam b'dehen, and the blood is on their hands. So you see that if they would have committed adultery, they would have wanted him to die. Now, why do we need these reasonings? Says the Ran, not to say that without this part of the story, the woman would be forbidden, because that's true. Because a woman does not become forbidden to her husband only if what's called kinu and stira. Only if he warned her in front of witnesses and she went and she's secluded, or if you have clear two witnesses verifying this. It's just that the Ran explains very importantly, if we didn't have these reasonings, then it would have been appropriate for a bal nefesh, a person concerned with his soul, to be concerned to fulfill his heavenly obligation to say, okay, we can't be married. But not that because it would be definitive and would have her get removed. It's just that he would have to say, okay. But now with these indicating factors, it actually tells us that no, Rava says they were not mezana. Now the Gemara ends off pshita. Obviously, she's permitted based on these reasonings. Of course, he would want her. He would want him dead, and the fact that he told them obviously they were not mezana. Isn't that obvious? The Gemara says no, it's not obvious. Because ma'odetim, what would you say? Maybe he's sucha of it. Maybe actually they were mezana. They did commit adultery. So why is he telling him? He wants this guy out of the way. He wants this woman that he's fancying now that it could be his, and not to have the husband host. No, the nichele delele mizbal. He wants that the husband should not be dead. Why? That his wife should be, as the pasuk says in Mishlei, Mayim genuvim yimtaku. It's the stolen waters that's sweet. V'lechem sisachem yinam. And it's the hidden bread that's gishmak, that's pleasant. As the Gemara says in Sanhedrin of Ayin Heim and Aleph says Taisus, that what's fascinating is that the taste of intimacy, of intercourse, has been taken away. Not so gishmak. And you know who he's given to? The ones who commit sins. It's mamish gishmak. Which is a fascinating idea to understand how the koyach hatumah. What happened was that the mamish, the tambia we don't have, but the oivre aveira have it. So therefore, no. Maybe you would say he wants the husband to be like, what says when he's not here anymore? So it's not gishmak. It's not ma'im genuvim anymore. And that's actually what usually happens. A few months later they break up and the whole thing is down in the garbage because the whole gishmak is only based on the fact that there's a husband. Wait, but that's not the end. It says the Gemara, kamash malan. So what's the kamash malan? Maybe the azoy daf zayin. So taka, maybe they were mezana, and maybe no. It says Taisus, because this noyev is not such a lamdin. He doesn't know this. He wants the husband to die so that he can be openly married to this woman. But the shaita that he doesn't realize that the whole gishmak is the husband being alive. But he doesn't know that. So since he doesn't know that, we have to tell you that must have been, if he's saying the husband, no, don't eat from that, must have been because they were not mezana, because otherwise Taka, he would have wanted him dead, even though that would be bad. So shall return to the 11th paragraph, Nedarim, which spoke about a lot, that the halach of hafaras Nedarim, that the husband can eat, that we said these are Nedarim, they can be mefer, and hatochas Nedarim. We have concluded the Masechta of Nedarim, talking about vows, and Yitz Hashem, in the next daf, we will start Masechtas Nazir. Thank you to any time for hosting us.